Hello, everybody. My name is Liza. You're listening to my podcast, Learning to Live. And I'm going to try recording myself on video, and we're going to upload this to YouTube. And this is just how this is going to go. We're just going to try this out. My life coach keeps telling me to make a YouTube channel, and I haven't yet. And so I'm going to do it now. Excuse me. And I'm going to excuse myself in advance for, clearing my throat and whatnot. Still recovering from bronchitis, which is, I'm grateful I didn't have COVID, but at the same time, like, bronchitis was not really welcome in my life either. It put a delay on a lot of things. And I want to thank everyone who has listened to the last episode, which is all about the book that I recently read called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? And if you go back and listen to that podcast, you will learn 30 different things that you can do to basically demonstrate or practice self-love. And I hope you find them helpful. If you haven't listened already, go check that out. Today, I kind of want to backtrack and talk about what the definition of love is to begin with. For me, this podcast is part of that for me. It's a way where I can just kind of express myself, express my thoughts, and share my experiences, and that in and of itself is a form of self-love for me. Just acknowledging that, the words that I say are important and they hold value regardless of whether or not there's an audience, because I'm here. And that's kind of, I don't want to say that that's all that matters, but like, that's the only approval that I need is my own. And for me, that's been huge in my life so far. Now, this word love, when I was growing up, I learned from a really early age to associate love with getting things, material items. And so I really love the holidays, any holiday, because for me, Easter meant candy and new clothes and bathing suits. And then, what else was there? Valentine's Day meant candy, and July 4th meant usually some kind of outfit, maybe a flag. And then, not that I look forward to it, but it was a way in my mind that people expressed their love for me, is by way of gift giving. Excuse me. And I've talked about this in another episode where I talked about the holidays specifically, because I eventually got to this place where I hated the holidays. I hated them so much, especially that chunk of time at the end of the year where you've got Thanksgiving, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, New Year's, right? We've got all those holidays, bam, 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 right back to back. And like, that shit is exhausting. But for me personally, it was then that was like the creme de la creme of gift giving, right? Like, Christmas that was all it was about, was the gifts. What am I going to get? And how much stuff I got was how I basically associated how much people loved me. And when your parents start to have money troubles, then all of a sudden they don't love you as much, in your mind, in my mind. And I've been working with a life coach who I mention regularly on this podcast. And she has helped me to define what love is, what it looks like, how to identify it when you see it. And that's been really helpful. So I have my notes here because I would love to share them with you on what love is, like what the definition of it. And of course, it's going to be different from person to person. But for me, like, we start to get into the love languages, which I love too. We've got the 5 love languages, if you're not familiar with them, which is quality time, physical touch, service, acts of service, gifts, and words of affirmation. Yes, I remember all of them. Good job, me. Excuse me. And so between all those 5, right, people usually, like, there's a quiz online that you can take, the 5 love languages, look it up, super simple. And it'll tell you, like, oh my God, Okay, I think I'm clear. And that'll tell you like what percentage, like it breaks it down real specific for you. So you don't even have to think about this stuff. But like some of you already know, like, you know, maybe gifts is top on your list. Like you absolutely love when people give you stuff, or quality time. Like nothing is better than getting some one-on-one, just really good togetherness, you know? And for me, that's top tier. Like my top three are quality time, acts of service is a close second, and then we've got physical touch, just a bit beyond that. And then the last one on my list, at like a whopping 1%, is gifts. Now, when I was a kid, it probably looked different, but now, so that I kind of like, I started to define love in that sense. Like, how do I express love? How do I best receive love? How do I give it? How do I receive it? And that was really the extent of my definition for a long time. And then after working with a life coach, she's kind of taught me that like we can put some more specific parameters around that. So when we're working up my definition of love, it's not just love. It's unconditional love. Because like that's very specific. It's a little more particular. And the first thing I wrote down was quality time, because I was like, oh, well, of course. Like after that, I wrote acts of service, because I was like, this is what I know. This is what I'm familiar with. This is what I know to be love. And then I got stuck. I was like, shit, I don't know what love is. Like, and what a place to be in. Like, how can I know what's going on? How can I give it if I don't even know what it is? You know, like, how do I express that if I don't know? You know, and some people say when you know, when it comes to like soulmates and shit like that. But like at the same time, like, how do I show that to myself if I don't actually know? Like, I've been on this journey like the last few years where I'm, you know, learning how to treat myself better, and, you know, and that's a balance for me, because I can't just, I don't know, we live in a world where like it's not feasible for me to just go about my day and like, you know, not think about how I'm going to make money or how I'm going to make ends meet and stuff like that, and how I'm going to feed my fucking dog, like, you know, stuff like that. And then at the same time, like I have to be gentle with myself and allow myself to kind of learn how to love myself, because I thought that it was just like, I'll just figure it out and then I'll just fucking know. And that's not the case. Which is why this podcast is called Learning to Live. Because it's an ongoing process. You don't just like, I mean, for me, I realized I don't just figure it out and then all of a sudden I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, it's like I feel like I get a leg up, and then all of a sudden I'm staring up at another mountain. I'm like, I thought we were done. But that's just the nature of life, you know? So getting back to what I was talking about, right? The definition of love, I've got quality time and acts of service on here. And my life coach, she helped me, you know, add like several other bullet points. And one of those is that unconditional love is giving of yourself to others selflessly, right? And that's to say, not expecting anything in return. Giving of yourself, knowing that even though I give of myself, I'm not lessening myself. I'm not giving away my energy to the point of depletion, which I always love the analogy. I have to fill up my own cup so that the overflow, benefits the whole, benefits other people. And that really goes into self-love. But it's all the same. It's all fucking love. And so we've got unconditional love is giving of yourself to others selflessly, which is to not expect anything in return. Because I did this for you, you owe me that, or because it's not an IOU thing, you know? We know this, right? We know that that's not love. And then the next thing I have bulleted is appreciation and embracing you for who you are. And for me, that means, you know, the next thing I have written is accepting as you are. Like accepting yourself as you are. Not saying, you know, when I lose 10 pounds, I'm going to love myself better. I'm going to love the way I look more. Like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and then I'll love myself. And then I'll love the way I look. I'm going to get my eyebrows redone and then I'll love my eyebrows. Like, I'm going to get eyelash extensions and then I'll love my eyelashes. I'm going to get some extra hair and then I will love it. Like, it's not that, right? Because that would be conditional, right? That's the exact definition of conditional love. When we think about, when I think about unconditional love, it's just what is, accepting what is, right? Like, not needing to change anything, not needing to change myself or another person. To accept them as they are is to accept myself as I am. And I can't do one without the other. I have to accept all of myself for myself in order to then accept other people the way that they are. The next one I have on this list is the most difficult one that I've ever experienced in my whole fucking life. It's trusting wholeheartedly. Excuse me. And what comes to mind is actually a book by Brene Brown. She's all about like vulnerability and wholeheartedness, and basically like learning how to embrace vulnerability because it actually is a strength, not a weakness. And so I've read a lot about her. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. Definitely highly recommend. Like, that's her expertise, is like being vulnerable and wholehearted, living your life that way from a place of authenticity. And trusting wholeheartedly, for me, that means that trusting that like I'm going to be okay regardless of what happens around me, in the vicinity of me and my external environment, of what comes and goes in my life. I'm going to be okay. Now that is hard. As someone who is a recovered alcoholic, I'm also a recovering perfectionist. And excuse me. And for me, like, trusting, it's so difficult sometimes. And I say that because, I should start saying, like, it's really easy, but it is difficult. It's difficult because I spent, the better part of 20 something years not trusting myself, questioning not only if I was making the right decision, but if I was a good person. Like, if I could trust the decisions that I made, if I could trust who I was, like having serious identity crisis. So trust is like a huge, huge thing. And, for me, in order to trust myself, it's one of the affirmations that I do in the morning, because I just, like, the only other way that I know how to practice trust in myself is to make a decision and run with it, just commit. And I think that's been a big part in this journey of kind of learning what love is and what it means to me, and how I prefer to accept unconditional love from myself and from others. And, so there's trusting wholeheartedly, and wholeheartedly is like without bounds, right? Like, with just being so open to experience wholeheartedly, to throw your whole being into something wholeheartedly, to love unconditionally, to love wholeheartedly is to love without reserve, right? To not withhold love, because withholding love from other people would be withholding love from myself. The next bullet point I have on here is loyalty no matter what. You guys have friends that are like ride or die, maybe, kind of, sort of, like I do. I've got some ride or die friends, and like loyalty no matter what means I am never going to fuck around with their exes, right? Like, stuff like that. Just, this is kind of basic, like, but not, like, because in high school, I did some shady shit. Like, and I did not live this way. Like, but loyalty, no matter what, it also applies to myself, right? First and foremost, I have to love myself. We can't love other people unless we love ourselves first, right? A lot of us are kind of awake to this fact, and some of us aren't. I mean, it took me a while to get to there. But loyalty, no matter what, means that I have to be loyal to myself. So that means respecting my own boundaries, for example. And loyalty, what else does that mean to me? It means putting myself first. in the most sacred, selfish way possible. Like, I have to make myself a priority because that's nobody else's job but mine. It's my job to make myself a priority. Then the other thing that I'm wanting to say on that is that, sometimes I have people in my life that want to take care of me, that want to make me a priority, and that's all well and good. And then I have to just be aware and conscious of the fact that I can't let them, can't let is not the right word. I still have to make myself a priority, even though other people are so eager to take on that role. Some people want to be a provider and they want to take care of me, my parents, for example, right? Like, maybe your parents too. I don't know. Maybe a significant other. Maybe there's a friend, a big brother, a big sister, a sibling, an aunt, an uncle, the people like that are like so eager and willing to help you. And maybe you don't have people like that in your life. If you don't, I'm fucking sorry. But at the same time, okay, those people, like, they want to help me so much. And at the same time, I have to remember that I have to put myself first. Like, it has to be my job, because it would be so easy to just hand over the reins to someone else. But people come and go. And I know that the only person that I can rely on is myself in the long run. Like, who I was born with and who I'll die with is me. And I have to be able to take care of myself and put myself first. Let's move on to the next one. Next one is affirming through terms of endearment. Affirming through terms of endearment. Now, this has to do with one of the love languages, sure, words of affirmation. And this is affirming through words of endearment. I do this more with myself than I ever have before. Like, I pull down the mirror in my car and be like, you're doing such a great job. Keep going. Like, you're doing a great job. Really. I'm so proud of you. Good job. Like, I'm so happy you're in a great mood. I'm so grateful for the actions that you just did. I'm talking to myself on a regular basis. And, I didn't realize how much I talked to myself until I lost my voice. And because it was awfully quiet in the car. But affirming through terms of endearment, that means that I also express my love to other people by saying I love you. By saying the words. And for a long time, that was really, really hard. And I found that the more I do it, the easier it gets, just like anything. The next bullet point I have on here is affection, meaning nurture and comfort. And when I think of affection, I think about the lack of remembrance of it when I was a kid. And it's not because my parents didn't love me. My parents loved me very much. It just wasn't an affectionate home, at least the way that I remember it. And they may remember it differently. But for me, it was, there weren't lots of hugs and kisses. And I became closed off pretty early on. And so then I didn't want things like that. Or at least, part of me didn't want things like that. I didn't want to be touched. And when I think of affection, I think of, PDA now and how I've gotten so much more okay with it. Because, like, I don't, I'm not saying I'm climbing my boyfriend like a tree in public or anything, but, like, there's kissing, there's hand holding, there's some smooching, and before I would have been like, not here, babe. Like, we can't do that. Like, people are looking at us. But now I kind of don't give a fuck because I feel like the more that I express love, the more that it kind of bleeds out. And what I mean to say is the more that I give it, the more that I see it. The more that I am open to it, the more that I see myself receiving it. Like, and it's kind of this cycle that, if I just kind of crack open the door, all of a sudden there's love all over the fucking place and I can't even stop, And, or maybe you don't know. I don't know. But I'm encouraging you to say the words I love you to people. That's what I'm doing right now, okay? And nurture and comfort goes into affection. So that's, again, I'm thinking of Brene Brown and like the idea of vulnerability. Because to comfort someone is to be vulnerable, is what I've learned. So when somebody is, pouring their heart out to me and telling me their hardships, I used to just give advice. And I feel like I'm shaking my head because, like, how dense of me. Like, and I was trying to help. And, I thought it was coming from a good place. But really, like, those people, like, it's good to ask, too. Like, I ask now, do you want advice? Do you want my opinion? If not, like, I'll share my experience on something similar. I'll tell them about how I've felt that way, how that fucking sucks. Like, that is how I've learned to be vulnerable and to nurture and comfort others, is to, I don't know, I have to go to a place of vulnerability within myself. And it's like, it can be uncomfortable, ironically. But I'm getting more comfortable with it. Like, because I'm like, someone will be, voicing their distresses and whatnot. And I'll sit there listening and be like, wow, they're really going through a lot right now. Wow. Yeah, I feel for you. Like, and I'm tearing up just thinking about it. A friend was recently, like, telling me stuff, that she's dealing with. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm here if you need anything. And that's kind of all I can do, But I'm able to do that now, is the point, is that I'm able to love in that way, to express my love in that way. The next one I've only got 2 more notes on here. Kindness and understanding. Well, like, duh, right? Like, what is unconditional love? Of course, it's kindness and understanding. Like, and that was an easy one to add to the bullet list. Okay, hold on. Let me be very clear. I already knew this. No, I'm just kidding. I think I'm nervous because I'm on camera. But kindness and understanding is, of course, is part of unconditional love, because kindness and understanding, like, it's exactly what I was just talking about, right? When you listen to someone who is in a time of deep discomfort, like, you have to have those things. I mean, you don't have to, but if you're going to love them unconditionally, you kind of have to. And the last thing I have on here is no judgment. And for me, excuse me, just burped. No judgment has been something I'm constantly, like, critiquing myself on. I could say I'm constantly judging myself on judging other people, but I'm not going to say that. I'm just aware of when it happens. Because I do notice it. I notice it now. I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, because I start to feel this little just, like, twist inside of me, and it's kind of uncomfortable. I feel like, and it's my mind starts racing, and I'm like, okay, everybody just calm down. They're allowed to be on whatever journey they're on. They're allowed to be on whatever path they're on, and that's okay. I'm where I'm at, and they're where they're at, and that's great. That's all good. And that's kind of how I have to go about it now, because if I start, like, oh man, like, I had an experience today where I saw myself judging someone, and they were, in a place of distress, I guess, and all my mind could think was, oh, they're just having a pity party. They just want attention. Like, who the fuck am I? Who the fuck am I? Like, they're allowed to feel that way. They're allowed to speak whatever their truth is at that moment and just have it be received with open arms and with love. Like, why can't I just do that? And so I did. I was like, you know what? They got something they want to say. That's all right. Okay. And no judgment's been a tricky one for me. Almost as tricky as trusting wholeheartedly. But like I said, these things take practice. And I've been practicing, like, the opposite of love, or the opposite of unconditional love, which is conditional love, for the better part of 20 years. For those of you that don't know me, I am almost 30. And I just wanted to throw that in there because I feel like I never talk about how old I am. But That's pretty much the basis of what I wanted to talk about today, is just the definition that I have written down on what it means to love unconditionally and what the definition of love is, because it's changed for me over time. I've had to unlearn a lot of stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you feel the same way. If for a long time you thought that this is what love looked like because this is what you grew up with, And it takes time to kind of rewire the brain to be like, you know what? I'm not sure that this is love. But at the same time, it's like those people, they did the best that they could with what they were taught. So they were taught the same thing, And we now have an opportunity to kind of change the structure of that. That we get to change the definition, the way that we see things. We can do that now, right? We're kind of like awake. So like let's redefine it, redefine it and then act on it. And we can just figure this out in a different way, because sometimes we just, I don't know, when you start to like wake up to these things, you can't unsee it, And so I would encourage you to kind of question what love is to you. How do you define love? Is it the same as when you were younger? Has it changed? Do you know? Can you define it? I couldn't. Not in detail. But now I have these notes and I look at them occasionally just to be like, okay, what do I need to work on? How can I express love to myself and to others a little bit better, a little more wholeheartedly? And that's all I've got today. I like to keep these episodes 30 minutes or less, so we're going to stick with that. And I hope that you guys have a really, really awesome week ahead. I hope that you get everything that you want and then something you didn't expect. I hope that your week is stress-free and that you trust that everything's going to be okay, because it will. I promise. Thank you so much for being here and for just listening. Thank you for your presence and for your comments. And I will catch you next week. Bye.